let's get to the news here. 300 people strong, literally in the first 10 minutes. That's amazing. Here we go. Let's take a look-see. So, who had the news first? I believe it was John Heyman. It was John Heyman 15 minutes ago. It is a $54 million deal. There are 2 opt-outs. So overall, he's going to be getting $20 million that first year, $18 million the second year, $16 million in the third year. So opt out after the first year, opt out after the second year. Another Scott Boras contract, another contract full of opt outs. This looks, I mean, not the same dollars that Cody Bellinger got, but pretty much the same kind of structure. You know what this pillow contract tells us? Well, we didn't get the deal. You know, this is Scott Boras on the phone. All right, hey, listen, Matt, we got a 3-year offer from the Giants, couple offers here, or a couple opt-outs here. I know we were coming into this offseason maybe looking for a 5 or 6 year deal, maybe a 4. Didn't quite get there. But you know what? I think this is going to be the best move for you. Do the 3-year deal. You get the $20 million this year, which is basically like a 1-year, $20 million deal anyway. The Blue Jays had offered him, I believe, $5 and $100 million during the season. I could be wrong on that. But right there's his $20 million salary for next year. Has a more consistent year. Go back out onto the market next year. This is typical Scott Boras kind of a contract. What else is there to say about that? This is basically Scott Boras saying, hey, we came into this offseason. We were looking for more. Didn't quite get it. The market never materialized. But listen, I got your back. We got the pillow contract for you. Here you go. So basically the Cody Bellinger contract, 3 years with a couple of opt-outs. So the difference with Bellinger's, though, is he has the difference is that he has the opt-outs, but he has the higher salary, right? But for Matt Chapman, right? Oh, we got a super chat coming in. Nick Kowal, how you doing, my friend? $5 super chat. Let's face it, everybody knew he was going to be a Giant, second most obvious destination since Ohtani and the Dodgers. Nick, I think you mean Jordan Montgomery and the Red Sox. I think you meant to type that. I think you made a bit of an error there. I'm just saying. Sorry, excuse me. My giraffe Nick Robbie came out. But yeah, a very obvious destination. It's funny, though, because in the beginning of the offseason, a lot of people were not picking Matt Chapman for the Giants. I saw a lot of Cubs predictions. I saw Tigers predictions. I saw going back to the Blue Jays in the beginning of the offseason. Just saying, what is Susan Slusser saying? What is Slusser saying? Still, is she saying something about Snell? Here, let's get back to this. What is she saying? I'm seeing some of you in the chat. What is she saying there's more buzz in the lobby? Don't tell me she's reporting about buzz. Remember that with Aaron Judge? There's buzz in the lobby. Aaron Judge is going to the Giants. Susan Slusser, what the heck are you saying? I've confirmed Chapman to the Giants, opt-outs each year, and this does not mean they're out on Snell. They're still very much in. Listen, I feel like we see these kind of reports all the time where a player gets signed and, but you always see, but they are still interested in this player. I don't know, man. I think for the Giants to be able to land Chapman, I think that's a win, right? I mean, definitely keep going for Snell, but I do wonder, what does this mean exactly? How in are they for Blake Snell? I definitely think they have a chance. For me, personally, the team that leads the way in terms of, making the most sense, I would say the Angels, personally. I think the Giants are a great fit for Blake Snell, but I feel like the Giants at this point, they have made a lot of additions, which coming into this offseason, that was the goal that I wanted the Giants to pursue. Instead of just going for that big ticket, sure, Shohei Ohtani would have been great for the San Francisco Giants. Yamamoto would have been amazing, but I'm glad the Giants are taking this approach. Trying to attack this offseason in multiple ways, and instead of trying to land the big ticket like Aaron Judge or Shohei Ohtani, Bryce Harper a few years ago, making the splash for a Giancarlo Stanton trade. Felt like They're always going for the big fish, which there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm glad that they, at least this offseason, yes, they did go for the big tickets, but they pivoted very quickly, right? And they made these other moves, bringing in Jung-Hoo Lee. And I like that because, remember, Cody Bellinger, I predicted Bellinger for the Giants in the beginning of the offseason. And once they realized, like, okay, yeah, he's looking for a lot of money, let's go to Jung-Hoo Lee. I think they did a great job at pivoting right there and then making some other moves, like low-key kind of moves. I really like the Jordan Hicks signing, believe it or not. I think a lot of people thought that was a little weird because he was coming into the offseason as a reliever. No one thought this guy was going to be a starter. But the Giants said, hey, you know what? Instead of trying, to land the big ticket starting pitcher, let's kind of go under the radar. Let's go get Jordan Hicks, who everyone is pursuing as a reliever. Let's go get him and say, hey, you want to be a starter, right? So that was pretty good to me, right? And then, getting a piece like Jorge Soler, right? You didn't get Cody Bellinger. You didn't get the impact bat that can also provide defense, but you got the contact-oriented bat with the defense and the speed and the Jung-Hoo Lee, and then you got the bat with Jorge Soler that provides that power, and they're just attacking this thing from multiple avenues. So I really like this offseason that the Giants have had. I mean, if you go take a look at the San Francisco Giants, so let's break this down, right? You've added a contact, speedy bat for the top of the order in Jung-Hoo Lee. You've added a power bat for the middle of the order in Jorge Soler. You've now added defense with a bit of a bat there too in Matt Chapman, but mostly defense at third base. You brought in a left-handed starting pitcher in Robbie Ray. You'll see him at the All-Star after the All-Star break. You brought in Jordan Hicks, who, if they can get him on track to be a starter, that's a win for them. I mean, you are attacking this offseason from pretty much every different possible angle that you can look at. An absolute win for the San Francisco Giants. What else is there to say? I think this Giants team looks fantastic. I think, why not pencil them in as a team that absolutely can go get a wild card? I mean, why not? I mean, this team, they are just so improved all over the place, right? You added slugging with Soler, a top of the order guy in Lee. Now you've added some defense, right? And which is really good because you have ground ball oriented guys like Logan Webb. Keaton Wynn has pretty good stuff. He's going to get the ball on the ground a lot. Kyle Harrison, this is a young guy that, sure, has good stuff, but he's going to need to rely on that defense early on in his career, right? As he puts his stuff more together and as he matures, right? Jordan Hicks, right? Big stuff, but he's transitioning into a starter now. So he's probably going to have to use that defense a little bit more instead of just trying to power those fastballs by everyone. So, I mean, I think it's a great move. They have had, in all honesty, I think one of the more complete off seasons when you really look at it, right? I mean, I can't honestly think. Besides the Dodgers, obviously the Dodgers had like one of the greatest off seasons of all time when you just look at the money spent and the talent that they brought in. But this Giants team, I heavily respect what they have done here. And I'm glad they landed Chapman. I'm glad. Now, can they do even more and get Blake Snell? I mean, listen, you have brought in all this talent. And there's one story with the Giants this offseason is they have not been able to lure guys to come to San Francisco. When it comes to San Francisco, people, you're looking at, there's some crime going on in San Francisco. It seems like the rates are going up, Whole Foods is closing down, stuff like that. And guys are not, a lot of these guys are not wanting to go there. That's not my opinion. I'm just going off of what some of these guys have, been saying and what's being reported. So I think it's fantastic that they've been able to bring in this really good amount of talent. Great offseason, right? And one other thing with Matt Chapman, of course, the big connection there, Bob Melvin, right? That to me, that was the first thing I thought in the offseason. Well, Chapman, where's a home for him? Why not go back to his old manager in Bob Melvin, where he had a lot of success? I really like the way this team is looking. I think it looks really solid overall. I mean, when you're looking at top to bottom, I think this lineup, is it going to be one of the best lineups in Major League Baseball? No, I don't think so, but I really like the way it looks because you have a little bit of everything, right? You got some guys at the top, right, that give you some speed, give you some energy there. Some guys that can get on base for you, like Lamont Wade Jr. is a good on base guy. Jorge Soler is going to give you the pop in the middle of the order. Maybe Michael Conforto can be a little bit better in the next year. Obviously with Chapman, a little bit of pop and maybe a bit more consistency with his bat this year. I would like to see Matt Chapman try and get away from the raw power that he showed last year and try to get to a bit more of a consistent bat. I would like that a bit more out of Chapman. And then, looking at some of these guys at the bottom of the order like Yastrzemski and Bailey and Luciano. Luciano, I like that he's in the 9 hole right there. I think that's going to be a good spot for him as he grows, right? And obviously Crawford now a St. Louis Cardinal. This is Luciano's job. And obviously I'm a big Patrick Bailey fan. I think overall, when you look at the middle, when you look at up the middle for the Giants, a great defensive catcher in Patrick Bailey, a good defensive player in Jung-Hoo Lee, and you're looking at shortstop and second base, maybe up the middle, there are some questions there, so we'll see, but you have Chapman at the corner. I think that's great. Now, if you take a look at what Chapman does, right, so now this pushes some guys, down here. So what do they do here with Wilmer Flores? I would imagine Wilmer Flores, with the year that he had last year, a very good year for him last year, a 509 slugging, 23 home runs, a 355 on base, hit over 280. I would imagine Wilmer Flores is going to be getting into this lineup quite often. He's a guy that can play a few different positions, so let's see where he ends up playing. But I think you have to find a way to get Wilmer Flores into this lineup as much as you can. So does that mean, he goes and, plays some second, some first? I'm sure they're going to have a bit of a rotation there. So we'll see how this all works out. But overall, really liking the way this Giants team is looking. I'm liking the way the pitching staff is looking overall. And that's even without Robbie Ray, but could this even be a time where they could still add someone like Blake Snell? I'll say this right now. If you go get Blake Snell and you got Logan Webb, Snell, Harrison, and then you got Hicks and Wynn at the back end, I mean, that's not that bad. Right now, I am leaning more towards the Angels landing Blake Snell, so we'll see. And this kind of makes me think of all the remainder of the free agents that are out there, right? This is now, when it came to the Boris, people were saying Boris 4, and then it was the Boris 5, and then Bellinger signed, so then it was the Boris 4 again, and so now I guess you can say the Boris 3, and now we got Montgomery, we got Snell, and you got JD Martinez. So, this is now two guys. Where Cody Bellinger, obvious fit for the Cubs, Matt Chapman, obvious fit for the Giants. What does this mean for these guys like Jordan Montgomery and Blake Snell, right? Where, again, Blake Snell, the teams that he has been heavily linked to, mainly the Yankees, I personally feel like that is more of a media thing because, hey, the media at the end of the day, and anytime they can use the Yankees in their headlines, even if it makes no sense whatsoever, they're going to do it, right? Because it is the Yankees at the end of the day, and that draws the headlines, right? That draws the views, the clicks, right? So the Yankees, personally, I don't see it with Blake Snell. It's like the money they would have to pay. It's not just paying Blake Snell a salary for this coming year. It's the taxes that you would have to pay on top of it, their payroll. Everyone's looking at the Dodgers payroll. Is anyone seeing the Yankees payroll as of right now? I don't know about that. So that's going to be, I think, too much of an investment for Blake Snell. And everyone keeps talking about how the Yankees pitching staff is thin. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't think this is really all that thin of a pitching staff. Like, John Heyman keeps pushing. I swear, John Heyman, he's a Scott Boras puppet at the end of the day. He keeps saying this Yankees pitching staff is thin. I understand Rodon gave up like 18 home runs in batting practice today. Whatever. I mean, come on. I think he's fine. Hopefully he's fine for Yankee fans. But I think the Yankees pitching staff, I think they're more set up, right, where they're okay now that they've added Stroman. I think they're more of like a trade deadline acquisition So, that's what I see with the Yankees right now. I don't know. I feel like them adding that much salary and having to pay that much in the luxury tax for Blake Snell, I just don't see that personally. So the other team that's linked with Snell are the Angels. They've felt like they've been connected for a long time. They need someone there. They have the money to spend. I think Blake Snell ends up with the Angels personally. And then my guy, Jordan Montgomery, it seems like the one team he's been connected to are my Red Sox. So is this going to end up being a thing? Because now we've had two guys go to the teams that seem like just complete obvious fits. The Cubs for Bellinger, the Giants for Chapman. So is it going to be the same thing with Montgomery where the obvious fit are the Red Sox? I think it's a matter of they just have to find the terms that works out for both sides. I think for Montgomery, could the Cubs still be in? Sure, maybe. Well, now it's interesting because a lot of people were still thinking Chapman could be a possibility for the Cubs, even after bringing in Bellinger. But now the Cubs are off the board. Could this mean maybe the Cubs are thinking, well, all right, well, we got some money here. Maybe we could add one more guy to this pitching staff, and maybe Jordan Montgomery could end up being that guy. So I wouldn't count out the Cubs for Jordan Montgomery. I mean, I feel like they could still make an addition if they really wanted to, especially with Imanaga, who, is used to a six-man rotation in Japan. Maybe someone like Montgomery would end up being some good depth. And so we'll see, right? But you got Javier Assad there that could end up being your sixth guy in the rotation if they went with one of those at times. So we'll see, right? But I wouldn't count out the Cubs. For me personally, I think Montgomery, I just feel like it should be the Red Sox, right? I can sit here and say, yeah, I think he's going to end up with the Red Sox. I think the right word is he should end up with the Red Sox. Will it happen, though? I don't know. Who knows what's going on? And like I said, Blake Snell, I think with the Angels. Lem Chomp, how you doing? $1.99. Where does JD Martinez go? Now, I don't know. I think with JD Martinez, his market is a little bit more complex where there's a lot of teams that you could still, make a case for JD Martinez. I keep wanting to see maybe the Marlins do something, right? Now you didn't get Jorge Soler, so maybe they could bring in JD on like a 1 year or something like that. I think the Orioles make a lot of sense for JD Martinez. I think that would be a pretty nice fit. I mean, there's a whole bunch, right? You keep seeing the Angels pop up, but we'll see. I feel like they have a lot of different options there, and I feel like JD Martinez would kind of clog some things up there. You keep seeing the Rangers possibly connected for JD Martinez. I don't know, man. For me, I would probably I would either what teams would I like for JD Martinez? I would either say the Marlins or the Orioles, right? I think those are two teams where JD Martinez has those Miami ties, grew up there, and then Baltimore is in a great position to try and win now. That's what honestly I think. Right, the Blue Jays were a possibility at one point, but Justin Turner ended up going there. So we'll see. We will see. I mean, if I'm looking at kind of just running through these other teams that are still out there, I mean, I don't know, man. I don't really see like a million options, but there are a few different ones. And of course, the Mets. I slipped on the Mets. I think the Mets could still be a possibility. They've been tied with him. So they could still use that right-handed bat, right? So JD Martinez makes a lot of sense for the Mets still. So let's see. That's one team he's been connected with for a bit, right? And again, getting back to the point that I made where these guys, where it seems like they're connected with like just one or two teams, JD Martinez and the Mets, that's been a pretty, that's been a long connection. So maybe if they do a 1-year deal, something like that. I think that could make sense. So, JD Martinez answering your question, I'll go either Mets, Orioles, or the Marlins, personally. Baseball AI, Snell to the Giants, 6 years and $190 million. My friend, I don't know about that. I don't know. But speaking of the contract, let's actually go to baseballtradevalues.com, and we can actually see what were they projecting for a Matt Chapman contract. So, for a 3-year deal. Okay, so he ended up getting a lot less. 3 years and 69.3 is what Baseball Trade Values was projecting. So this shows that his market just completely fell off, right? So he ended up getting 15 million short. So could this end up being the same thing where Cody Bellinger, he got more than what Baseball Trade Values was projecting, and now Max Chapman has gotten less? The difference with Cody Bellinger is the Cubs, they wanted him back all along, right? And there are a couple other teams that were popping up for Bellinger, but the Cubs, they wanted him back. It made a lot of sense for them to hang on to him. So they ended up paying him a pretty decent amount, right? About, 26 and a half per year, around there. Now, Chapman, again, they were looking at a $23 million AAV. When I remember seeing this, I remember thinking, yeah, I don't know, that might be a little too much personally. I thought maybe around like 20 million. So ends up getting 3 and 54. So could this maybe mean that maybe someone like Jordan Montgomery, whose market, who knows what his market even is his contract going to be lower than expected? If we go to Jordan Montgomery here, Jordan Montgomery, I've been looking at his value pretty much all offseason because this is the one guy that I've had penciled, right? So if we're looking at like a 5-year deal for Jordan Montgomery, we're looking at 5 years and 132.5 that they're projecting right now. This is based off of field value, along with some other factors like age and projections moving forward. So Jordan Montgomery, they projected 132.5. So could it end up being a lot less than that, right? So right now, we've seen the two Boris guys get 3-year deals, which are pillow deals. Now, the big thing with Jordan Montgomery is he going to be a pillow deal? The difference with Jordan Montgomery here is he does, let me make sure I word this correctly. He does not have draft pick compensation tied to him. Remember, he was traded, so the draft pick compensation was no longer a thing for him because they could not offer him the qualifying offer. So that was the big thing with Jordan Montgomery, right? So because he doesn't have that, this is a good chance for Montgomery to think like, okay, well, I don't have that compensation attached to me where a team is going to have to give up a draft pick. So yeah, I would like to land myself a bit of a longer deal. And so does he end up doing a 3-year like Bellinger, like Chapman? I think those are different cases there. I believe Chapman had a qualifying offer attached to him. We can actually go double check this here. Max Chapman, yes, he did have the qualifying offer attached to him, whereas Jordan Montgomery did not. So this is a scenario where Montgomery, where he's probably thinking like, no, I don't want to do a 3-year deal. I want to do a longer deal, because if I go back out on the market next year, well, then a team can offer me a qualifying offer at that point, right? And then I would have the draft pick compensation tied to me at that point. Whereas this year, he doesn't have to worry about that. So I can understand where Montgomery wants to get a firm, 4, 5, maybe even a 6-year deal. So for Montgomery, 5 years, this is the scenario I wonder with Montgomery. If you end up getting a 5-year deal, is he going to have to give up some of that AAV where they're projecting $26.5 million? Could maybe, he have to settle for, say, I don't know, maybe around like 23 to 24 million, per year, something along those lines. Like I said, if we were to go back to Chapman, he ended up having to take a bit of a smaller deal. And let's take a look. So for the 3-year deal, that ended up being, they were projecting 23 million, where with the deal that he got, so he got 54, so he ended up getting 18 million per year. So that's a $5 million difference. Could Montgomery end up being the same, where, he's going to have to maybe, give up a little bit of that? So again, going back to, let's say, a 5-year deal, $26.5 million. I don't know if he's going to have to give up $5 million in the AAV. I mean, that's a little silly if you ask me. I could say, could it end up being like around $24 million per year? I think that could end up being something pretty decent. So let's see. You got 24 times 5. So like a 5-year 120 for Jordan Montgomery. So let's see. Very good comment there in the chat from N-Rocks. Teams are smart with Boris now. You got to think here with Matt Chapman. I wonder, man, we've been hearing a lot of talk about Scott Boras lately, where with Scott Boras, you got to be thinking as a player, like it's already March. Now it's March 2nd, and people are thinking like, what is happening here? Right? Why are these guys not in camp? And you even had discussions of a possible deadline that's come up, right, for free agency, which honestly, like, I know that doesn't favor the players very much, but they got to figure out something, because this is a bunch of baloney, if you ask me. If I was a player, I'd be pretty cheesed off, if you ask me. Like, it's already March 1st, and I'm still not in camp. Like, come on. I want to get this figured out. Like, Scott, what are you doing here, man? Get me a contract. Get me a team. Like, I get it. These teams are, but that's the problem with Boris, though. Boris says, sure, he's made a lot of money for guys over the years, but Boris has kind of dug his own grave a little bit, right? Where if you go look at Blake Snell with the Yankee offer, so what was that offer? I guess for a while it was 6 and 150, and then I guess there was another report that it was like 6 and like 168 or something like that. And it's like, how do you not accept that? Like, what are you doing? And like Boris, said like, no. Let's hold out, Blake. Let's hold out. Yamamoto, he got the big money. Let's pump the brakes a little bit. We got this offer from the Yankees. We don't, we don't want to be just jumping at that. Let's see what other deals come in. And then no other deals came in. Right? So Scott Boras basically screwed Blake Snell out of a big money contract like that. Who knows what the details were exactly, but I don't know, man. But with Chapman, you got to be thinking here, he basically had to take a 1-year deal. Is Scott Boras still going to be his agent, next year? I don't know. I'd be probably thinking about it at this point. We'll see. Ended up going to a team that was just so obvious anyway. So, Zach G, Juan Soto signing in mid-March. Goodness gracious. I hope not, man. I'm not looking forward to that. And Juan Soto, that guy is going to be sitting pretty, and he is going to be taking his time. But overall, kind of just wrapping things up here. I'm not going to get, carried away too much here tonight. I don't want to, sit here for like 2 hours talking about Chapman. But overall, I think this is a great move. I think this is a very nice offseason the Giants have had. Could they still do more with Blake Snell? Yeah, I think that could happen. We'll see. Susan Slusser is saying they're still not out on Blake Snell. And I don't know. I mean, sure, I think they'll stay in. But let's see how far they go, right? But will the Angels maybe push a little harder for Snell in the end? I don't know. But overall, I think you have to give a great grade for the Giants. I think overall, the Giants have earned at least an A for this offseason. I've really enjoyed their offseason. They've added a whole bunch of different talent, guys that can do a bunch of different things. I mean, they've attacked the rotation. They've attacked the lineup in 3 different ways where, heavy contact and speed and power with Soler and defense with Chapman. I think that's honestly a well-rounded offseason. So could you imagine if they get Blake Snell too? I mean, my goodness. That would be, I think we'd, obviously the Dodgers in the offseason they had. I think if they can get Snell, I think you have to look at the Giants and be like, man, hey, is there an argument here that, maybe this Giants team, maybe not as good as the Dodgers with their offseason, but, maybe right behind the Dodgers in terms of, a complete offseason and then some, right? I think it's going to be hard to beat that Dodgers offseason with what they did, getting Ohtani and Yamamoto and Glasnow and Teoscar Hernandez. I mean, are you kidding me? So that's going to be hard to beat, but if you were to pick a team right behind, if they get Snell, I mean, I think there's an argument right now that the Giants are already in top 5 when it comes to off seasons already for this off season. We'll see. Blake Snell, that would be an amazing addition for them. So before I do get out of here, everyone, I do just want to go over tonight's sponsor, and that is BetUS. And also, everyone, make sure you go to the link in the description below for Aura.com. I need your help, everyone. We got 500 people in this chat. If you can, go sign up for a free trial with Aura.com. Every free trial that we can get, that could maybe help us land possibly a long-term deal with Aura. And hey, maybe that could end up, helping the channel out even more down the road. If you can, just sign up for a free trial using that link in the description. But the main sponsor for tonight is BetUS. So let's actually go take a look at the Giants' odds for this coming season. So everyone, like I said, the link for Aura is in the description, but the link for BetUS is also in the description down below. You get a 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits up to $2,500. I mean, that is not bad. The code is JOIN125. Taking a look here, let's see where the Giants are kind of ranking when it comes to some of these. So let's take a look at the National League West. Let's take a look at the Giants making the playoffs. And let's also take a look at the Giants and how many regular season wins. So here we go. So for right now in the National League West, they have the Giants at plus 1,000. So not a bad bet, if you ask me. So actually, really quick, let me log in here, and let's see what kind of money you could win if you put down, say, $100 for the Giants. Right? Let me get these odds pulled back up. Everyone, while I'm pulling these back up, if you can, help us get to 200 likes. We're at 161. We are this close. Help us get there, everyone. I will greatly appreciate that. Here we go. San Francisco Giants making the playoffs. Giants regular season wins. Let's take a look. So if we were to maybe throw down $100 on the Giants winning the West, I mean, those are some pretty decent odds. But if you bet $100, you would end up winning 1,000, right? So not bad if you ask me. Not bad if you ask me. However, they do have a pretty decent odds right now for the Giants making the playoffs right now. Winning the West, I mean, that might be a bit of a stretch with how good this Dodgers team is. And then you got the Diamondbacks, who just made the World Series last year and improved. But the Giants making the playoffs, plus 190, that's not bad. That's not bad. So if you were to bet $100 right now, you would end up winning 190. So a $90 gain for you. So that's a pretty decent value right there, if you ask me. And right now, the Giants are over or under 81.5 wins. And right now, with this ad, I think you got to go over at this point. Think you got to go over. So if you have a minus 110, right? So if I bet $100, well, I mean, you'd end up losing $10. So you'd have to bet more in this case. You'd have to bet at least 110, right? To basically almost break even. So let's say I bet, well, I don't know. This is not going to be a good value here. So if I did, yeah, nah. So that's probably not a very good one to do right now. But if I were to recommend one of these, I'd probably recommend the Giants making the playoffs at plus 190. I think that's a pretty good value bet right there. That would end up winning you, if you bet at least $100, that would end up winning you an extra 90 at this point. So I think, honestly, that's a good value. I mean, who knows? Maybe some of you are feeling a little frisky. Maybe some Giants fans out there are thinking, all right, we're feeling pretty good. You know what? Screw the Dodgers. Screw the Diamondbacks. The Giants, we're going 2021 style, baby. We're going to win this division. And, hey, you'd win yourself some pretty good money. I mean, that's definitely a risky bet, but if you wanted to throw down $100 on the Giants winning the division, you would end up winning yourself an extra $900 right there. So I'm just saying, go take advantage Go sign up using the code. It's in the description below. And again, don't forget about Aura. In case you are wondering about what Aura is, it's basically a great company that helps protect your information online. So if you got like your name out there, your address out there, email address out there, companies using your information, they will basically help block all of that. So hey, go try it out. It's a 14-day free trial. You can cancel it at any time. So at least go give it a shot. But we're trying to get as many signups as we can for the free trial, and maybe that could end up leading to a long-term contract for this for the channel, which would go a very long way for this channel. Everyone, I'm going to wrap this up here. We're at 170 likes. If you can help us get to 200 by the time we are done, I will greatly appreciate it. Everyone, again, we kind of came out of nowhere with this stream tonight. And I was not expecting this. Like I said, I was about to fall asleep, and we ended up getting a surprise stream. But everyone, we'll be back here Sunday night in case anything happens tomorrow. Make sure the bell is turned on just in case there is any breaking news tomorrow. Who knows? Maybe Blake Snell ends up going somewhere tomorrow. We're starting to see these Boris guys come off the board, so make sure you got that bell turned on. Again, hit that like for me. 200 likes on the way out. Share the show. Subscribe if you're new. All of a sudden, I'm awake, everyone. Am I going to be able to go back to bed? I don't know. I'm like awake all of a sudden. All that energy coming on through. Everyone, have yourself a great night. Thanks for stopping by for a surprise stream tonight. And everyone, we'll be here Sunday unless something happens tomorrow. Have yourself a great night, everyone. And I'll talk to you next time.